The intense and unpredictable badass, how Michael Cole described Bron Breakker at the start of Raw. Then we saw IYO SKY, and Mike went, man, she's really frustrated. I don't know why this stuff makes me laugh. It just does. Also, hello, my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, a show that is pretty much summed up by this t-shirt. Goofy wrestling for life. Wrestling is meant to be fun, so I am going to enjoy it. I'm also going to make dumb merch that you can buy on Pro Wrestling Tees. That's right, now I'm just a shill, but if MJF can do it, I can do it too. Now we have gone totally off the rails. Let's take the fop, give the good bits an up, and the bad bits are down for the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw. Because of course we are but days away from our latest pay-per-view premium live event, Clash at the Castle in Scotland, so who came out to kick things off? It was none other than Doink the Clown. When it was Doink the Clown. Do you know how happy I'd be? Happier than I am now. But it was Drew McIntyre. He did ignore the fact the crowd were chanting CM Punk, because now he has to get serious, and he has to focus on only one thing, and that is beating Damian Priest for that World Heavyweight title. Almost worked. Drew also took a shot at the Judgment Day and said Damian's name one too many times, so of course they did come down as per Wrestling Raw 14.8. When they did do this, Pat McAfee said, say their name and they will appear. And I was like, yeah, I believe in Joe Hendry too. Even though he did whoop my ass. Finn Balor and JD McDonagh were beside him though, and the World Heavyweight Champion was like, listen to you, Drew, you absolute goober. You keep making excuses, and quite frankly, we're all sick of it. He's also going to finish off McIntyre once and for all come this weekend, when he said, I'm the champion because I'm Damian Priest. Now his point was he doesn't need the Judgment Day. I've been thinking about that line for a while. Doesn't make any sense. The Scottish Warrior then ignored all of that because he doesn't think any of it's true, and the only reason Priest is able to keep hold of his gold is because of his buddies, when from nowhere, we announced that later on it was going to be Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor. Where'd that come from? There was a stipulation though in the fact that if Drew was able to win, the Judgment Day would be banned from ringside, clum Clash at the Castle. So start sniffing, my friends. Something is brewing. McIntyre also accepted and told Damian to be ready to shake his hand next week on Raw. And look, all of this was fine. It was basically a way to tell you why the Judgment Day won't be involved. Clum Clash at the Castle, but maybe they will, or maybe somebody else will be getting involved too. And his name may ride with P. Kem Sunk. Shouldn't have said that. That was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, this was okay. We then got a recap of everything between Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. Mostly because it was time for an update. Because Morgan had decided she was going to break the internet because she found Dom backstage and basically said to him, you don't need a girl you have to call Mammy, you need a girl that you can call Daddy. I just stared off into the abyss and I was like, man, I can't go on social media today, it's going to be too much. She then gave Dommy Boy the key card to her hotel room and told him to stop on by. And trust me, this was going to be a show-long storyline, and you ain't going to believe it. When we did return the favours, because it was IYO SKY taking on Lyra Valkyria, and given that Lyra had beat IYO in the Queen of the Ring, well, we went and flipped it around. Lyra must have known this too, because she just went crazy when the bell rang, as the referee tried to stop her. I was like, what are you doing, referee? It's a wrestling match. And of course, that basically created a distraction, and Sky was able to get back into it. I mean, IYO did punch her right in the face as Valkyria was then doing suplexes, but when Sky tried to do one for her, Valkyria went surprise, and she basically wrapped her up like a pretzel. Kind of made me hungry. IYO then got in her moonsault, which is always a little bit of a worry, because that triggered the commercial break. Surprise, surprise. When we came back from the advert, Lyra Valkyria smashed her with a moonsault. So we're going to have to figure it out for ourselves. I think this one was nice and simple too, because I think Lyra just shouted at IYO, damage control sucks. And of course, Sky hasn't been able to handle this recently, so she was like, damn it, that's true. And because she wasn't able to handle the truth, like Jack Nicholson, she put her guard down, that'll do. IYO was able to get back into this though with a backbreaker because she hates backs, but when she went for moonsault number 2, she missed, and Valkyria went for the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll-up. Actually, only got a 1-2-0. Valkyria then remembered, wait a minute, if I want to win a match, I should hit my finishing move I've been perfecting for all these years, so she did get Nightwing, but given the position of the referee, Dakota Kai was able to break that up. Lyra just got screwed. Lyra was so mad at them too, she went after these idiots, but you can't do that in a wrestling match if you are a wrestler, because you forget you are having a fight when she turned around and IYO SKY whammed her with those double knees. The thing is though, Valkyria wasn't done and she actually stopped another moonsault when they kind of got into it a little bit, when I kid you not, IYO SKY literally grabbed Lyra Valkyria's hair and turned it into the most devastating move in all of sports and attempted a surprise roll-up, and she got the 3. And I was like, well, this one was lost on me. I can't be empathetic about that. Check it out. Damage control then obviously wrecked Lyra Valkyria right after that because people love doing that on wrestling shows. when I suppose we learned that Lyra has friends in Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, because they finally remembered they were Raw superstars, and they ran out for the save. It of course means this can build to a 6-man tag, which I have no problem with, and the best part about this is that IYO and Lyra have great chemistry. This was another awesome match between them. It's all about science. Up when we had the best segment. Because Dom was backstage with JD McDonagh, Finn Balor and Carlito when he said, bam! Can you believe it? That's the key card to Liv Morgan's hotel room. And you just gotta find this clip online. All of them had these amazing reactions, especially Carlito, who's just like, oh man, that's cool. So they are just a bunch of nerds, and we did something poetic here, in the sense when Dominic was explaining this, there was a poster of Rhea Ripley in the background. Now look, that's right on the nose, but who cares? I thought it was a very nice touch, and when she does come back, she is absolutely going to kill him. I mean that too, she's probably going to stab him right in the face. We then cut to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, who were just walking backstage, so I'm glad I saw that. When The Miz found Sami Zayn, he was like, Sam, have you seen R-Truth? Because of course, we can't leave R-Truth alone these days. He may go do something stupid. Zayn's got enough on his plate though, so he basically walked off when he did bump into Tozawa and Maxine Dupree, and he was like, man, did you see the footage from last week? I'm so sorry about what happened. Otis then walked in and he was apologetic too, but Sam was like, no, dude, don't worry about it. I totally do understand, because this was basically my life in 2022 and 2023. When I tell you we got and did some cooking. Because Otis wanted to explain himself and said, look, here's the deal over the last few years. I lost my Peach, who was Mandy Rose. I lost my Tucky, that was Tucker, and I lost my money in the bank briefcase. And do you know who was there for me after all of that? It was none other than Chadsworth Gable. This is why he feels so indebted to the man and why he can't turn his back. And Sam was like, please, this is the wrong thing to do. Learn from my experiences. But you could see it on the big man's face. He is totally conflicted. And I felt my tum-tum say to me, man, I feel sorry for that guy. Sammy was also trying to tell him too that the reason he is feeling like this is because he's hanging around with a negative Nancy, which is actually good life advice. And I love the fact we went years in the past to justify how Otis is acting now, to the point I'm gonna give it an up. I mean, when it comes to stories in wrestling right now, this is one of the best of them. When I laughed again. It's so good. Because Damian Priest entered the Judgment Day's lair to try and find out what was going on with this hotel keycard when it was gone. Like a murder mystery. Dom acted like he had no idea what was going on as Damian gave him the Larry David, are you sure face? And honestly, given that it was just a silly narrative that we did put onto Raw, I thought it was most entertaining. Wasn't really the same for Ludwig Kaiser though, who we cut to after this. Because man, he is really mad at Sheamus. That's why he thinks it totally rocks that he did beat the Irishman last week, because everybody doubted him. And from here on out, if anyone else wants to get in the ring, he will eliminate them. And do you know what eliminate means? Kill, murder, finish their life. So bring it down. There's the crown counter. It goes up by 1. You don't get to say that. He also finished by saying that he will be entering Money in the Bank. And I tell you, just push Ludwig. Not only would it make me happy, but his dad Bowser will be over the moon. When Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Braun Strowman defeated the Judgment Day. Why not? Now I suppose the big takeaway here is that we did get another QR code, which basically insinuated that the Wyatt Six, whatever they're going to be called, will debut next week. And if I have interpreted that correctly, I think that's a good time. We'll be coming off the pay-per-view premium live event, and it feels like it is the right occasion to do it. I'm very excited about this. I think it could be pretty good. When we got back into this match, and Carlito's big plan was to try and attack Braun Strowman, which was the worst plan, because Braun just grabbed him and threw him across the ring. I never thought he was gonna land. Dom then did get the tag, but of course he ran away as soon as Daddy Ray got the tag. So instead, Father Mysterio was like, all right, JD, well, I'm gonna beat you instead. Lee then got in there, which of course is when Dominic decided, oh, now I feel good about this, and he tried to attack. But actually, Ray and the Dragon grabbed this idiot, and they threw him into the ring post. I mean, he definitely deserved it. Ray and Carlito were soon going at it, but Carl was getting totally destroyed, so he tagged in McDonagh. When finally Judgment Day realized, wait a minute, guys, we're a team, we can do this. And they did come together, like they were the people that hung out with Captain Planet. Finally, they were beating up Rey Mysterio. They cut off the ring. And they even kept attacking Braun, so he wasn't able to get the tag, which means they did kind of forget about Lee, which is really dumb, because he is a dragon. He got the hot tag, and I tell you, this dude, he got the skills. I mean, he put Carlito in the Tree of Woe position and stopped him, and that would have been the end of the match if it wasn't for JD McDonagh, who broke it up at the 1-2. When Dominic decided now is the time that I'm going to help, which meant, of course, who walked to the ring? It was Liv Morgan. Now, she got on the apron and she was yelling at Mysterio when Zelina Vega smacked her from behind, meaning Liv fell into Dom, and they landed, and essentially, She was on his crotch. I mean, what do you want me to say? You can say, Simon, this is meant to be a family show. I agree with you, but go look at the footage and go look at the images. This was definitely a crotch-related position. Morgan acted like this was the best thing ever too, as Dom freaked the hell out. I think the whole time, Braun Strowman must have been warming up his hands, because that's right, he felt the power and he got the hot tag. I mean, he just ran through everybody and the crowd loved this before he turned his attention to Dragon Lee. I suppose given that Ricochet is going to leave the company, that could be his substitute. So the Dragon got on his shoulders, he did a big splash onto Carlito. Good guys win. But this was super fun and we got some sex in there too, I suppose. And I just like the way this story is going. I mean, imagine when we do get that big reveal that, oh my gosh, Dominic has been with Liv Morgan the whole entire time. It's getting it up. Fair play to the commentators as well, because throughout all of this, they had been talking up the fact that Bron Breakker and Ilja Dragunov were going to have a match later. And if you'd never heard of them before, you would have thought it was Father Christmas taking on the Easter Bunny. Ilja was then here for a chat too, and he used Bron's name against him because he was like, I'm going to break you. And I was like, I see what you did there. Ricochet also turned up and said, yeah, man, you're going to beat Bron Breakker, then finally we can have the third match in our trilogy. I was a bit like, I think that's going to happen, Ricky, baby. I've been reading that there internet. I don't think you're in for a very good evening. Good grief, he wasn't. We also saw IYO SKY freaking out after this because she couldn't handle the fact that Damage Control had been murked again. So you got to imagine that they will be adding a new member soon. I tell you, I don't know who that could be. And speaking about people having issues too, out came Sami Zayn. And the last few weeks have been awful for him and his Intercontinental Championship, but that's why he is excited about the weekend, because Sam is going to be taking on Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title, and he can put this to bed for good. It's also super personal now because Chad has made it so, especially given everything he has been doing with the Alpha Academy. As always, he said his name one too many times, so out came Chad. Gable also thought this was typical Sami Zayn because he's inserting his business into Chad's business and nobody wants their business in their business. And also, look at the Alpha Academy. You can think what you want, but they're really happy. Now, this made me chuckle because we zoomed into their faces. I tell you, they are not happy. It's like me telling you that I'm over the moon that Mother Nature kicked my ass and took my hair, which is not the case, as Gable made it very clear. You know what's going to make them happier? When I beat you for the Intercontinental title on Saturday. And look, that may very well happen. They then actually questioned all of them, saying, seriously guys, you can't be pleased with this, and also, why do you care about this guy? I tell you who you should care about, the fans. Now, look, let's be honest, that was a really cheesy line. I liked it. It annoyed Chad Gable so much though, he said, right, fine, you know what I'm going to do? Unleash the dark side of Otis like we were watching Star Wars. Because yeah, then it was time for Sami Zayn taking on the big guy. He just ran through Zayn too, I suppose, because he is filled with man meat the whole time. Chad's on the outside saying, yeah, do this move again, make sure you kill him, murk him, boy. I mean, he was like an overzealous father. Gable then got way too carried away though, because like he always does, he jumped on the apron and essentially got in Otis's face. And this just created a mega distraction, which was Chad's own doing, meaning when Otis turned around, he got smacked in the head with the haluva kick, and I guess it knocked him out. He got beaten for the 1, 2, 3. And this is how good Otis is at this role. It didn't feel like he'd been buried or anything like that. It just felt like a good story beat. Of course, Chad then jumped Sami and started kicking the crap out of him when he slapped Otis around, saying, damn it, you've got to help me. And the camera work here was great, because Otis was in one corner, and Chad Gable and Sami Zayn were in the other corner. And when Otis turned around to attack, Chad had to get out the way, meaning Otis did hit Sami, but if you want to start going, oh my gosh, he was actually going after Gable, you totally can. That was the point. He then finished Sam off with the world's strongest slam when he got in Chad Gable's face, and honestly, bless Gable and his understanding of this character. He went straight into coward mode and he hid under Tina the Turnbuckle. The crowd also loved this as well, so something clearly is going to happen at Clash of the Castle. And look, if you want to have Otis help Chad Gable win the belt to elongate this a little bit, I think you probably could, but you do need to be super duper careful here. You don't want to miss the peak. Still, as I already mentioned, this is one of the best stories in WWE right now, and I'm totally invested. I have plugged in. It's getting it up. When The Miz found our truth, he was totally right. You should not have left him alone. Because Truth is all like, man, I'm so happy you did come to find me, because I have booked us a tag team title match against the APA. And Miz was like, I don't think you have. That's basically impossible. He, of course, met the AOP, so Miz had a mini breakdown, especially because Scarlett walked in and she dealt them the Death Tarot card. I was like, Scarlett, I don't think you need to kill them. Just make sure your boys win the match. When, speaking of matches, we got a very peculiar one. Because on Saturday, of course, we are getting this three-way for the women's tag team titles. So here to tie into that, it was Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark taking on Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre, and of course watching on was Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. We completed the Triforce. Now a quick shout out to Shayna as well, because she had that awesome match at the NXT show over the weekend, and clearly Isla Fyre and Alba Dawn, it's not their names, knew about this because they went right after Baszler's knee. Story time. Now Stark soon got in there and she beat up Dawn for a while when Shayna was like, man, I want to give it another go. But of course she still had her owie, so every single time they went after her leg. Fyre and Dawn then double teamed Stark though, which is when Baszler must have taken a Phoenix down, because she did get back in there, and even though she was hobbling a little bit, I tell you, she started to whoop all the ass. Now, personally, I like this. It's how we should use Shayna Baszler. She should always come across like a warrior. She also went after Fyre's shoulder, because you know the old saying, it's a shoulder for a leg and a leg for the shoulder. But even though she was trying to hammer away at her joints, eventually Shayna went nope. She locked in the Kira Fuda clutch, and she won by pass out. Okay, why not? Now, there are two reasons this confused me. One, because I'm a massive idiot. And two, when we do get to this triple threat match, just going off the booking, you would have to imagine the least favourites are Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn. So why the hell didn't they win this match? And even if we do get to the weekend, the big surprise is, oh my gosh, they became the tag team champions. All that's going to do is make the titles feel flat because, again, it's not their fault. WWE just hasn't given them their due. Now, listen, I always like to look at the human side of wrestling because I am an absolute moron. And I do love the fact that they're on the show because, of course, it is from their hometown or their home country, whatever you want to say. And look, I'm never going to get mad at Stark and Shayna getting a win because I'm a big fan of them too. So that's an up. The booking of this just feels weird to me, and I still can't get over how we do treat the women's tag team titles. I just kind of feel like we need to care more about them, and therefore I can care more about them. Which actually isn't true. I couldn't care more about them if I tried because I'm in love with these things, and I think we could actually use it to expand the women's division, and it just feels like we don't. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? I can't even talk today. But for me, that's a down. We then got this really awesome video hyping up Bron Breakker, which also included a tweet from Robert Griffin III, who was like, man, I tell you, he's the future. And listen, given what was about to happen, I think WWE feels the same. Because he was taking on Ilja Dragunov, and man, you need to put your pants on the floor right down and watch this. It was fantastic. As soon as the bell rang, they totally forgot this was wrestling. They were just punching each other in the face and chopping each other to the point you could see it on their skin start to turn red. Ilja then got bored of being tackled by Bron. So I tell you, he just kicked him right in the head. That's what he did. He saw a skull, he remembered he had a foot and went blam, and he just smashed those two things together. He responded by slamming Dragunov like he was absolutely nothing, which is when Ilja once again went, I know what I can do. And he kicked him in the skull for the second time. I don't get how these two are still walking around. He also then hit all these clotheslines and all these German suplexes, but he still wasn't able to get the drive because he hit a DVD into the turnbuckle, a flipping coast to coast, and this senton that just splattered Bron Breakker. Once again, it was only a 1-2. So nothing can keep Bron down because he is unbreakable. Sorry. And just as Dragunov was going to run in with something, Bron killed him with a Steiner line. I don't think I've ever seen anybody hit harder. He also went for the spear, but he got kneed in the head instead when these two spilled to the outside and they were resting atop of Alan the announce table, when Breakker grabbed Ilja and his ribs and chucked them right into the side. And if you told me he broke one, I'd believe you. He also just started throwing Dragunov into the ring post and Barry Barricade with so much force it was disgusting. When they got in the squared circle and he gave him the most brutal spear you've ever seen, he then gave him another brutal spear on the outside when he gave him the super spear back in the ring and he got the 1, 2, 3. There was no if, buts, or maybes about this. He totally killed him. It works so well though because Ilja Dragunov is always talking about how much he has to suffer before he do come good. So I'm absolutely giving this an up. And if you want the highlight of the night, this is Exhibit A. These two absolutely rule. He then continued to murder Ilja, probably for real, when Ricochet bounced in and drop kicked him right in the head and into the crowd. That's when we basically tricked a large portion of the internet audience. We'll get there in 1 second. I did laugh again after this though, because we were back with the Judgment Day. They weren't actually fussed that they lost that 6-man tag earlier. They were still talking about this key card. That's what's important. Priest did demand that Mysterio finally sorted this out and ensured that Liv Morgan wasn't a problem anymore when they had this big rah-rah moment. And when they all marched to the ring at the very last second, Finn Balor pocketed the key card. Now listen, it's actually a flubbed up storyline when you think about it, but Finn sold it so well, like he was a cartoon. Honestly, he is so damn underrated and he totally understands goofy wrestling for life. We then saw Drew McIntyre and Sheamus chatting to each other because they love to hate each other, and Sheamus even said, listen, ever since I have come back, we have butted heads, but you can make history on Saturday, and I know you're gonna do it. Sheamus was also concerned about Ludwig Kaiser, but promised to give him the mother and father of all receipts when he entered himself into Money in the Bank. And I'm sorry, when you start looking at that field, this could be bloody brilliant. McIntyre then said if he does win the briefcase, he has to give him a heads up in case he wants to cash it on his world title, when they promised if they did go down, they would have banger after banger after banger. That's just what they like to say. When we got another surprise, and good grief did I get this wrong, because it was the AOP taking on the Awesome Truth, and I presumed that the Authors of Pain were going to write another chapter into their book, which was all going to be about Agony, but actually they went and lost. Karrion Kross and Scarlett did cut a promo before this when they said, listen, the AOP are going to win the championships, and then Xavier Woods, you can come and take rest in our bosom. They didn't say that, but the whole point is they can lose Kofi Kingston, but after this, I wouldn't do that, Xavier. The final testament sack. Miz really was being killed by Akam though, until he made a massive mistake, because he was able to get the hot tag to Truth when Razor ran in, they just tossed him to the outside. They then both went John Cena and they were going to hit the 5-knuckle shuffle when Scarlett sopped them, and then Karrion realised that was a distraction and he tripped them up. So at this point I was like, oh, they're definitely going to lose those titles. But amazingly, they still didn't. For the New Day ran down because they wanted instant revenge because they hate these guys. When in the ring, R-Truth got the title and he smacked Akam with it and he no-sold this. But actually, I thought it was a very creative finish because The Miz then zoomed him and he hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment and he got the 3. I don't know why that tickled me, but it did. This really is another strange one because once again, we can just talk about all the tag team titles at the moment and how wishy-washy they feel. But I'm going to be that guy for the second time. I just love The Miz and R-Truth. And the end of this, it popped me, so that gets an up. But yes, when we move on to talking just about the specific belts, they just feel a little bit directionless right now, even though we do have a direction. And that's mostly because the more interesting part of this is whatever Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston are going to do. It's all kind of messed up, even though there are good parts to take out of it. That's a down. When the murder did come, once again I was laughing, because so many people have gone, it's not going to happen. Definitely happened. Because Ricochet and Ilja Dragunov were talking backstage when Bron Breakker ran in, and he honestly killed these guys. He was thrown into box-like structures, and as soon as he was convinced that Ilja wasn't going to get up, he took Ricochet to the outside, and he lawn darted him into one of the production trucks, a la Kevin Nash and Rey Mysterio from WCW, when Ricochet landed right on the concrete to this horrible thud. Now, there's this idea out there that maybe Ricochet was wearing some padding, and that probably is true. I don't care, man. You could stick pillows up my ass. I still don't want to fall on solid concrete. Then got totally nuts, though, because Bron decided, I'm going to kill you, Ricky. And he did a power slam into a car windshield. Cry me a river. So all of this is absolutely a +1 for the crime counter because it's quite literally a crime. And we did the whole, oh my gosh, Ricochet needs to be taken away in a local medical facility wagon. And given that in real life his fiancée is Samantha Irvin, the ring announcer, she left her position, she got in the wagon, and they drove off together. She was concerned. And yes, if you do want to know why this happened, it's because, as the rumors state, Ricochet has not re-signed with WWE and will be going elsewhere. And for all the crazies who are going crazy, no, it's not a big deal. It's just a man deciding where he would like to work. And it's Ricochet. He's a top-tier talent. He has put in loads of time in WWE, and WWE have put loads of time into him. So if he wants to go elsewhere, it's going to be okay. You can still see him. I just hope he's happy. He really is one-of-a-kind talent too, and seriously, in terms of a write-off angle, and given all the heat to someone else that just so happened to be Bron Breakker, you've got to give it an up. Fair play to everyone involved. When we did get to our main event, and that was good, because of course now we didn't have a ring announcer, but Pat McAfee took over, and when Drew McIntyre made his way to the ring, he said, man, here he comes, like a hot Scottish bastard. Laughing again. He also said that Finn Balor represents the bum-ass Judgment Day, which is like calling an ATM machine an ATM machine. You've used the same word twice. But the best line was he has 0% body fat on a 220-pound frame. Maybe Pat should do this every week. Shockingly, these two then did have their match, and surprise, surprise, it was so damn good. They're like the ultimate professional wrestlers. I could watch them fight all day. Which is not true. I have stuff to do. Actually, now I've said it, this was probably the perfect let. Balor must have been watching the show too, because he was using Rita the ring post early on, and because Drew's arm is still taped up after he got injured, Balor was like, well, I'll just go after that. Smart. It was an error though, because it made McIntyre so mad, he threw Finn over Alan the announce table. This is when Balor had another idea. I'm going to apply an armbar. And I did some Googling. You're not going to believe this? That targets the arm. I assumed it was the bar. Finn was able to then reverse a power slam into a neck breaker because he is great. But this didn't go very well because he went to arm breaker number 2. And my word, he got smashed with a bomb of power. He then got more counters because McIntyre tried to hit the Claymore, but Finn got the Sling Blade, and when we went for the coup de grace, Drew was like, I ain't having that. When eventually he hit the Future Shock DDT, and word must have weighed its way backstage to Damian Priest. He was like, man, I better get out there. It, of course, was just to serve as a distraction when JD, McDonagh, and Carlito appeared behind the referee's back. This is one of those moments again. They never actually touched Drew McIntyre, but they were getting in the ring by the time the ref had turned around. And even though it was McIntyre beating them up, how was this not a disqualification? Now, I'm never going to mention this again, or I may do, who the hell knows? I go with my brain. But I did point that out on AEW, so I ain't going to be a hypocrite here. It is a down. Like, of course this helped Finn Balor, because all of a sudden he'd taken out Drew and he was going to hit the coup de grace. Now, this worked out fine, because actually if you go through the percentages, Finn Balor always misses the coup de grace. He did that here. Claymore, 1, 2, 3. Now the Judgment Day, well, Pat McAfee was right. They do look like a bunch of bum asses. It does make the match with Damian Priest super interesting though, because of course now Judgment Day are banned from ringside. Or I guess they could just ignore that. And Raw ended with Drew looking at Damian, Damian looking at Drew, because this is super serious. But I'll tell you this for free, you don't pay for ups and downs anyway. I am very excited for this. I think WWE is going to have quite the big idea. Which brought us to the end of Raw, and once again, I just think it's a very focused and a very fun show, which is doubly impressive because it's still 3 hours, and 3 hours is a long old time. But overall, I'm giving it an up. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about Monday Night Raw. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for SmackDown, so you can get all my thoughts and dreams on WWE and AEW programming. Otherwise, I appreciate you, my friends. Goofy Wrestling for life. See you soon.